What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Super excited to have you here today for, it's springtime, so it's upgrade season, or it's kayak mod season. It's also new kayak season for a lot of people, because a lot of folks, you're getting ready, you're looking forward to, like, the fishing action is heating up, and I'm gonna get my new kayak this year. So maybe you bought one over the winter and it's your first time getting one out on the water, in which case you've got some maybe modifications or customizations that you may want to be doing. I am in a very similar boat. Little dad pun for you, nailed it. I have got the Old Town Sportsman 106 PDL. I love this kayak. It's an outstanding kayak. I've used it in the past. I knew I already liked it, and then I got one. And so now I've got some customizations that I want to do to it. Now, when we first announced that, hey, we got the two new boats that we're working with this year, and we talked about our plans for each one of these, how we were gonna use them, et cetera, and y'all like blew us up. You said, you have got to check out Navarre. You told us that no one else is making better, more customizable, efficient, and value-focused upgrades for Old Town kayaks specifically. Now, they do some other types of stuff too, so I think they make some stuff for Nunqua and some other models, but really they're so dialed in on making stuff for Old Town products. And if I'm saying Navarre wrong, I'm super sorry. You're just gonna have to deal with it, and I formally apologize if I'm saying it wrong right now. Now, what is Navarre, and how are they doing this so well, and why is their stuff so good? Well, we had a couple of phone conversations with the gentleman who owns the company. We asked him some questions, and we were kind of like, hey, like, how did you get here, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I used to do a guiding service, and I guided out of Old Towns for a long time. I've been in every model, I've tried every one, and I put like a ton of hours into them. And I started noticing like these little nitpicky things, like, hey, maybe if I tweak this a little bit, it might be a little better. If I maybe had a spacing here, this might be a little bit less like rattly, or might last longer. Or hey, if this floated, if I dropped it in the water, it wouldn't just be like gone forever. Those are the types of things where, they're sitting back with a ton of experience in these kayaks and thinking, hey, maybe we can make some modifications to like really improve the user experience. It's somebody who's like got the background, has the experience, and knows what little things to look for. It's also not like major modifications to kayaks that like you can get a lot of different places. Like Yak Attack is not gonna make this stuff. Don't get me wrong, we love Yak Attack, but they're not making these like really minute, hyper detailed, specific pieces just for Old Towns. They're kind of making stuff that you can put on a gear track and use for anything, which is awesome and has its place. But this is like, if you got an Old Town, you kind of got to know about these like little tips and tricks. The other thing we like about these things too is they're not super expensive. These are going to improve your experience, but they're not going to break the bank for you, and they're not something you have to like save up for like a year to go get. So what are we doing in today's video? We're going to modify this Old Town Sportsman, the PDL 106, with some of the most popular and what we thought were like the most widely applicable upgrades for this kayak. So I'll walk you through each one quickly. We'll talk about price points, and then we'll get them on the boat. Now, another disclaimer, I did in fact take this boat out as is, just to get an idea of, like, I think like the rudder's a good example of like, how does this feel before I make the upgrade, so that we can get it on the water after we make this video and get everything installed, so that when we get on the water, we have a point of comparison, and then we can tell you, hey, this one's really worth it, it made a big upgrade, or yeah, you could do this one, but maybe you don't need it because, maybe it's something that you would do maybe after a couple years, or if you need to make a replacement. Okay, now let's look at what we've got going into the boat right now. Now, the first thing I generally recommend that people get for their kayaks is some sort of anchor, or some sort of anchor system. Whatever you choose, you do you. I have been going with the Anchor Wizard. This is, in my humble opinion, with some experiences that I've had, this is one of the best ways to get an anchor on your kayak. What is it? If you've not seen it before, there's a line that comes out from right here, and then you just turn right to bring the anchor up, and then you turn it left, the tension leaves, and then your anchor just falls down. This is the first thing that I'm gonna put on my kayak. And then what are they making? So for anywhere, depending on the model you need, it's like 45 to 80 bucks for a couple of different pieces of plastic. And this is the type of product you're gonna see from Navarre. This is 2 pieces, and they have this is basically a modular setup to raise this out of the way and get it placed in the perfect spot for your boat. So the whole patterns, if you guys can see them here, I'll try and get the light just right. The hole patterns are going to match up perfectly with this exact piece right here. And that's the wonderful thing about having someone hand design these for Old Town. The height is going to be perfect. The shape of this plastic is going to match the exact shape of the kayak wherever you choose to mount it. And then they can custom make something for something like the Anchor Wizard, where the whole pattern is perfect and just boom, boom, boom. Easier install and basically a custom fit. Number 2 was so easy to install that I already put it on, and that is the impeller. Oh gosh, I just smashed my light. That is the floating impeller nut. So I think I mentioned before, you know, some of the stuff is just like, hey, this version of it's going to float, the old version didn't. That's what this is. So you can see it's bright orange. The other one was black. So this is really nice to have, because if should this fall off, or should you need to clear your impeller or do something on the water, do a little maintenance, if you drop this and it doesn't float, you're not going anywhere. Plus, you can keep the old one in your toolkit inside your kayak, just in case should you lose this one, now you got an extra. So that one's like 20, 25 bucks. This another one is a phenomenal example of, again, like a simple innovation that's just like a big win. And that right here is a handle replacement. So this is what this is gonna look like, but basically this is a direct handle replacement. And you can see there's a space here on the bottom. What the heck is this for, and what does it do? Well, this is gonna allow you to mount accessories, kind of like an accessory track, directly to your handle. So that could be a litany of things. It could be electronics, it could be paddle clips, anything you would use these bolts for. This bolt is specifically designed to fit right in that notched crevice right there. So this is the bottom, and then you can screw in any type of kayak accessory that you want. These are normally 30 bucks on the site, and then obviously you can do one or you can do both. So there's one on each side of the Old Town. Next up, we've got an install that I've actually done on all of the big kayaks that I've had in the past, and that is a keel guard. So this is basically just a piece of plastic that's going to protect the very front of your boat from all the scrapes and all the disaster that you're going to put it through as the owner of a kayak. I can tell you right now, I see this a lot when I'm getting my wheels onto my cart, so I'm not going to have the drop-in like heavy duty wheels because they just weigh too much. I'm just going to be lifting up the back of my kayak or the front and then setting it, sort of moving it and then setting it on top of my wheels. But when you do it, you're usually scraping the nose or the tail of the boat at some point, and this is a great way to protect from all that. Also, if you're a river fisherman, I think this is a must-have. I think you're just shortening the life of your vessel if you don't have one. That's just my opinion, but it's kind of just, you kind of just need it. Same if you pull up to boat ramps. So all you're gonna do here is basically clean your kayak, put some glue in here, slap this on with a little bit of weight, then you're done. You can just tape it on and wait for it to dry. Also, I don't know if I mentioned it, but these are 35 bucks. That's it. Now, I don't have one here, but for the autopilot, they actually make a dashboard, and that's like a new and cool concept for kayaks, like of all types and makes and models, that has come out recently. And that's basically a board that's gonna go across right here, and it's basically just gonna allow you to mount whatever you want to it. It can be rod holders, electronics, all different type of things, and it kind of keeps it off your gear tracks and in the front of you, which this is sort of wasted space. You don't cast right into that, like this portion of your boat very often at all. So when you can keep stuff like right up there, it just takes advantage of a non-fishy area and keeps all your stuff like in a nice clean, instead of like a clustered area. It's a nice clean dashboard design. It looks like this on their website, so that's what that is. And these are, let me double check the price, $85 to $110. You can compare that to like what Boondocks just released or anybody else, but it's a pretty cool idea. And then again, one that's designed for Old Town, that's a W. Next up, we have a replaceable rudder for the Old Town. So this is it's actually a surprisingly easy install, but this is I don't know if you can hear that, metal rudder instead of the plastic one that's there. Now you do lose the handle, right? So that for some people could be a problem. I personally never use the handle. There's 2 handles underneath. I use that the entirety of the time that I've ever used this kayak. That being said, if the handle that's built into the plastic one is like something you depend on, do not go this route. This upgrade is one where I highly recommend, and I think the owner would recommend too, that you get used to what you've got already. This may be one that you don't need, but maybe one that you want as you sort of get used to the boat, maybe after a season or two. But this is a really nice upgrade. So if you're a river fisherman, metal instead of plastic, that's just less breakage potentially. So there's a lot of benefits, or some benefits, going to the metal. This one's 50 bucks, very well made. And again, you do lose the handle, but you go metal instead of plastic. So there's your upgrade right there. All right, next up we have a offset power pole mounting plate. So one of the things with Old Town, this PDL 106, you can see it, but in some of the other models you can as well. The 4-point bolt pattern, if you're gonna mount something like a power pole or a trolling motor or any kind of motor, the the 4-hole pattern on the Old Towns is not directly behind the boat. It's not centered on the rear of the vessel. It's offset, so it's like at a diagonal, and sometimes that can be challenging, and you kind of need to navigate that in order to get the trolling motor or whatever it is you're trying to mount in just the right position. This can help you do that. So you've got some inset screws here that you can see, and then you've got your 4-bolt pattern right here. So you bolt this onto the kayak, and then it moves everything over and then turns the mounting point so that it's like in the right spot for mounting, again, a power pole, trolling motor, whatever it is that you're trying to do there. There's a couple of different versions of these plates for the specific Old Town model that you have, and these range from anywhere from $40 to $80. And one thing I should mention, if you're worried about this stuff not being heavy duty or quality, just, yeah, you can stop that right now. This stuff is built to last. Like, who else is gonna sell you 40 to 80 bucks this thick with this quality of plastic and build construction? Not many folks, I'll tell you right, I'll just tell you right now, not many folks. This is quality through and through. Now, per dollar for the average fisherman, this is probably the one upgrade that I would send you to the website for first. This thing mounts, this thing is wild, this little Batman looking thing right here. This is a mount that screws into the top of your pedal drive and gives you 2 rod rests, one on either side, and an accessory tracker, a little tiny accessory track right there at the top. Now that could be for a small fish finder, that could be for a GoPro, which is probably gonna be for me. It could be for nothing, and you could just use it for the rod rest, which is totally legit. This is 30 bucks. All you do is pop a cap off the top of your drive, but you basically just screw this on. Heavy duty, unobtrusive, and fixes one of the most common problems with this boat, which is I try and set my rod down and there's like not a great place for it because like the pedals are in the way, and then you, without even noticing, can just like set your rod right where the pedals are and you could crush a rod instantly. If you want a safe place to set a rod down while you're messing around with the fish or changing lures, this is a really nice way to do it. This next one just showcases how much that, like, the experience that they have with different generational models of the Old Town series. They sell this rudder bolt right here. So this is just a metal replacement bolt for the current plastic one that you get. This is how they used to come from Old Town. They used to have this metal one. They replaced it with a plastic one. This is $5. It's an easy install, and it's just a more heavy duty way for you to mount your rudder. Now, whether or not you buy the metal rudder, this is another one where I recommend just go get this one installed on your boat. This is probably how they would love to sell the kayak. And again, they need to hit that retail point because this is one of the best values in kayak fishing, the PDL 106 and the 120, in my humble opinion, for what it's worth. I think this is an extreme value for a pedal kayak, but this is one of the ways that you can get back to like how they originally designed. Just $5, quick upgrade. And again, it's like a little sleeper upgrade that you would never think of. It's not flashy, but it just enhances the overall experience of you kayaking. And there's just one less thing for you to worry about breaking. I love that. Next up, we've got a couple of seat risers. So you're gonna glue these to the bottom of your seat, and then these little rockers sit inside the tracks that the Old Town has inside the hull. Super easy upgrade. These are, I gotta check the sheet again, $20 to $40 depending on which kayak model you own and which kit you need to have. This is probably one of the most recommended upgrades. Yeah, zoom in, from Navarre, from you guys. Now, why would this matter? If you're someone who likes to stand up and sit down inside the Old Town, that is one of the things that's so great about this kayak, is it's not super wide or super heavy, but it's very stable to stand and fish out of. So if you're a big stand-up guy, getting an extra 1.5, 2 inches like this piece here offers you for not a lot of money, makes it so much easier to stand up and sit down. It also offers you the opportunity to store more stuff under your seat, which is one of my biggest gripes with the Old Town kayak, is getting stuff under the seat. Virtually impossible. They have a nice little hammock here where you can store some stuff. So like right in between, yeah, I'll show you. Let me, come on in, let's take a look. So this is the Old Town seat. So you can see right here, you just pick this up and bam, you got yourself a lifted seat, just a little bit. But getting stuff underneath here can be really tricky. They do have this little hammock where you can slide some stuff in there. So I keep my terminal in there. It's wonderfully useful. But again, depending on the model and how you apply this stuff, there's really not a lot of room back here. There's a little dugout for you to maybe store a battery or something, but it's kind of tricky. But with this extra couple inches, you might be able to slide something else onto there, or at least get your hand in there a little bit easier. This next one fits right in with everything else that you've seen, and only somebody with like a ton of time in the Old Town would ever think about this. But a couple of drive spacers. So these are 2 pieces of plastic, and they basically go on the bars and just create an exact fit for the drive to fit into the hull of the kayak. So no wiggle. with the drive as you're pedaling, especially as you break the kayak in, things tend to loosen up, especially as things get warmer and that plastic softens and everything just sort of gets warmed up. Things tend to get a little bit looser and you lose some efficiency on the water, and then you just start hearing sounds that you don't want to hear. This is a good way for you to avoid all of those problems. These are $12 to $21. Next up, we have the transducer scupper mount, which I will definitely be needing. So there's a couple of different ways you can mount these. You can mount the transducer to the bottom of the hull and run your cable through, which is great. But with a smaller transducer like I have, which is the old Lowrance Hook 2, just a really basic fish finder, a really small one, you're gonna want a scupper hole mount where I'm basically going to have this bar right here. I'll just get it out because you can't see anything through that plastic. So I'm gonna have this bar going through my scupper hole, which goes through from through the top of the kayak through a hole for the scupper hole, and then on the bottom there's going to be two different plastic pieces. One just to hold the tension at the top of the scupper hole, and another one at the bottom, and that's actually going to hold the transducer. You tighten this wing nut down, and then that is basically going to create tension, and it's going to make a place for you to mount a transducer. It's one of the easiest, simplest ways to make this installation for, again, those smaller transducers like the old Hook 2 or whatever it is that you happen to be using. It's clean, it's out of the way, and I'm telling you right now, for the amount of money, this is the highest quality one you're gonna get. Lowrance makes a, I actually bought it. It was like 50 bucks. It worked pretty darn well, but everything was made of plastic. This one doesn't even pop up when you search on Google, and I think it should, because this would work for probably a lot of different kayaks, especially just with this length of bolt. It's probably the only thing that holds you back. So in my, again, humble opinion, this is one of the pieces of equipment that you can't find most places that works exclusively with your Old Town and lets you just make a really easy upgrade like electronics to your kayak. And these are either 35 or 45 bucks depending on which model you happen to have of the Old Town and which version of this you need. This is by no means everything they have on the site. This is just what we thought offer the most value, simple installs, and just little ways to boost, again, your experience on the water with these Old Town kayaks from somebody who really knows what the heck they're talking about. Calm down. I know that this is a challenging change of scenery, and I apologize for that, but I ran out of time. Family and life got in the way of me finishing that install, which is unfortunate. But then a week later, I went and did everything that I was supposed to be doing in my garage, in Jeff's garage, in a different video that we filmed, and I didn't love the transition, so I'm just gonna finish it here in the office while I'm in the middle of editing this video right now. But there were a couple things I want to call out before you see the intro that Jeff and I filmed at his house in that separate video. And those couple things are, one, if we didn't showcase all the installation, there's a reason we didn't do that. I do like to show you guys the installations and how easy and challenging it was for us. I will tell you it was all easy, but the reason it was so easy is because we actually used all of the videos that Navarre has on their website. Again, I'll leave a link in the description below, but they were very good, and honestly, just remaking those videos didn't seem like it was gonna really help anybody anymore, so I didn't think that it was worth it. And a lot of the stuff is so simple to install that it doesn't really require much, if any, instruction at all. It's super intuitive. So go check out the videos if you buy anything and you're like, how do I install this? And then the other thing I wanted to call out is that Navarre sent us all this stuff for free, so we did not pay for any of this. We try and be as upfront as we can with you guys about how we're getting any product that we're showcasing. We are not sponsored by anybody. We're not sponsored by Navarre. You guys told us that you like the product, you want us to check it out. We reached out to him, and he hooked us up with a ton of stuff that we're going to be able to use on these Old Town boats. So huge thank you, but also, again, some transparency on our side. We want you to know exactly what the deal is, so we want you guys to be able to trust what you're seeing on here. And with that, to the outro. All right, you guys, so that's it for the Navarre install. We were in the shade. All right, you guys, so that's it for the Navarre install. Now, look for this on Paul's kayak specifically. So he's gonna have pretty much like everything you could get from the Navarre website will be on that kayak. So every time we take that out there, we're using all these extra like improvements of creature comforts, and we'll let you guys know how we like them, how they hold up throughout the season. It's important to note that pretty much everything that we picked up or that you could pick up from these guys is under 50 bucks. So
I think $50 to $80 is like the absolute max, depending on what model you need.
Minimal expense, maximal improvement of comfort. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe it gave you some ideas. Go check out Navarre for sure. Nick is awesome. He's putting together some amazing stuff over there. So we appreciate him for helping us and hooking us up with the equipment that we're going to be using this year. We hope you guys consider it as well. And thanks for watching the video. Smash that like and subscribe to the channel so you can see how this holds up throughout the season. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.